Australia is a land of huge landscapes, stunning natural beauty, and a unique range of wildlife. Yet despite its immense size, it remains remarkably sparsely populated compared to many other countries around the world. There are so many instances of Australia's enormous landmass barely touched by humans ever. One of them is as crazy as you can hardly imagine. Anna Creek Station in South Australia is equivalent in size to the entire country of Israel. But this entire area is dedicated to cattle ranching and pastoral activities, with just 25 to 30 human beings living there. Imagine 9.5 million people living in Israel versus 30 people in Anna Creek. Isn't it too weird to believe? But when we compare the landmass of Australia to its population, the facts are actually quite astonishing. Despite being the world's 6th largest country by land area, spanning over 7.6 million square kilometers, is an entire continent, Australia's population is only 26 million. This places it as just a tiny fraction of the global population, which exceeds a staggering 7.9 billion individuals. When comparing Australia and the United States, the differences in both population and land area are stark. The lower 48 states of the US boasts a population of around 300 million, showcasing a densely populated region. In contrast, Australia, with a land area of approximately 7.7 million square kilometers, is the 6th largest country globally by total area but has a population of roughly 26 million. Are you kidding? Well, this significant difference highlights just how vast and relatively uninhabited Australia truly is. To put it into perspective, there are individual islands like Java Island in Indonesia and Honshu Island in Japan across the globe with populations exceeding that of the entire Australian continent. Even some of the world's bustling metropolitan cities like Tokyo and Shanghai claim higher populations than Australia as a whole. Within Australia itself, 5 major cities serve as a focal point of urban life and activity. These cities, Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Brisbane, and Adelaide, stand as vibrant hubs within the huge areas of Australian landscape. Yet, even combined, their populations only scratch the surface of what one might expect from a country of such immense size. You would be quite surprised to know that the majority of Australia's population is concentrated along the eastern and southeastern coasts in the urban areas like Sydney and Melbourne, with significant populations in major cities and their surrounding regions. However, the central and western regions of Australia, including parts of Western Australia, Northern Territory, and South Australia, are massively large but very less populated with low population densities due to harsh environmental conditions. Additionally, the far northern parts of Queensland and western New South Wales also have areas with very low population concentrations. Top of form Australia indeed boasts one of the most concentrated urban populations globally, with a remarkable 90% of its people residing in a relatively compact urban area. What's intriguing is that this densely populated urban zone occupies only a minuscule 0.22% of Australia's large landmass, highlighting the unique distribution of its population across the continent. This uniquely weird demographic distribution contributes to Australia's reputation as a land of wide open spaces and undisturbed wilderness. Australia's gigantic deserts seem undisturbed by any human activity. Take, for example, the towns of Esperance and Kununurra, which lie thousands of kilometers apart yet collectively house only around 70,000 people. This weird population distribution across very large distances raises the question, why is Australia so empty in terms of human habitation? The answer lies in a combination of factors that contribute to the challenges of sustaining large populations across much of Australia's landmass. One of the foremost challenges is the harsh desert environment that dominates significant portions of the continent. Australia is home to some of the world's most unique and dangerous creatures, thriving in arid and unforgiving landscapes that deter widespread human settlement. Geological and geographical factors further compound Australia's sparse population distribution. Situated close to Antarctica, Australia experiences extreme climatic conditions, with vast stretches of its interior characterized by arid deserts and semi-arid regions. The continent's rainfall patterns are highly concentrated, with the majority of the precipitation occurring over a brief period from December to March. This seasonal nature of rainfall, coupled with prolonged dry spells, contributes to drought conditions that render large swaths of land agriculturally unviable. Australia is geographically isolated from the rest of the world, surrounded by the major oceans, and it has no land borders to other continents. Even if we revisit the history, we get to know that Australia's remoteness made it one of the last continents to be explored and settled by Europeans. The Dutch and Portuguese made early contact in the 17th century, but it was British explorer James Cook's voyages in the late 18th century that led to formal European exploration and eventual colonization. Australia's long-standing geographical isolation, dating back to its separation from other continents millions of years ago, profoundly shaped its history and human settlement. This isolation fostered the development of unique flora and fauna such as kangaroos, koalas, and eucalyptus trees found exclusively in Australia. Indigenous Australians arriving over 65,000 years ago developed rich cultures adapted to diverse environments across the continent, with limited external influence until European contact. European exploration and colonization, marked by Captain Cook's voyages in the late 18th century, faced challenges due to the vast distances and harsh conditions, leading to gradual inland expansion. Today, Australia's isolation continues to impact trade, communication, and environmental management, highlighting its distinctive position in global affairs while preserving its exceptional biodiversity and indigenous heritage. Moreover, unlike countries blessed with extensive river networks, Australia relies heavily on just a few major rivers for water supply. Australia is home to over 450 significant river systems, but it's essential to note that many of these rivers are intermittent or ephemeral, meaning they may flow only seasonally or during periods of rainfall. Among the more prominent rivers are the Murray-Darling River System, the Fitzroy River, the Swan River, and the Brisbane River. These rivers play crucial roles in supplying water for agriculture, industry, and urban centers across the continent. Australia's geological features, including relatively fewer towering mountain ranges compared to other parts of the world, also influence its climatic and agricultural dynamics. Global climate change has exacerbated existing challenges, leading to more frequent and severe droughts across various regions of Australia. Alarmingly, 9 of the hottest recorded years in Australia have occurred since 2005, further underscoring the impact of climate variability on the continent's ecosystems and livelihoods. Also, the lack of significant glacier activity in Australia's history has contributed to extensive weathering and erosion of soils. Contrasting with regions like Europe, North America, and New Zealand, which have experienced extensive glaciation, Australia lacks the fertile soils deposited by glaciers. Top-of-form Australia, despite its harsh conditions, has about 6.3 hectares of arable land per person, while the United States has only about 1.2 hectares per person. This means that, on average, Australians have much more arable land available for farming than Americans. The real challenge lies in striking a balance between environmental protection, sustainable resource use, and urban development. The massive distances between populated areas, coupled with the harsh environment, pose challenges for developing infrastructure and services in remote regions. Limited access to amenities and economic opportunities further discourages significant population growth in these areas. Back in 1901, the White Australia policy favored immigration by people of European descent while restricting or discriminating against non-European immigrants, particularly those of Asian and Pacific Islander descent. Some assume that the White Australia policy may have influenced population demographics and immigration patterns, but it is still not a direct cause of the vast uninhabited areas in Australia. In recent decades, Australia has moved away from such discriminatory policies and has become more multicultural through diverse immigration programs. As of recent projections, Australia's population is expected to reach around 30 to 35 million by 2050, representing substantial growth from the current population of around 25 million. To manage this growth sustainably, Australia needs to plan strategically, invest in infrastructure, prioritize environmental stewardship, and promote social cohesion initiatives. Australia's environment and climate are major reasons why much of the continent remains empty. The land features vast deserts, semi-arid areas, and rugged terrains, making it tough for people to live there comfortably. Water sources are scarce, temperatures can be extreme, and farming can be challenging in many areas. These conditions make it difficult for communities to thrive and grow, resulting in large areas of untouched wilderness and low population densities across Australia.